If you're a contractor, you're probably paying the bland tax. It's hurting your conversions. It's hurting your ability to recruit. It's hurting your presence in the neighborhood. It's hurting every part of your business. And Dan Antonelli came out with a new book that you should check out. He's the president and founder of Kickcharge Creative. He's been doing this over 30 years, over 3,000 contractors. And if you're not doing it, I guarantee you your competitor is. And those vans that you see rolling around that are beautiful, they're probably Kickcharge brands. So this is your opportunity to learn what you don't know. Just spent an incredible time with Dan. Come check out what he has to say.
So the one thing that AI is never going to replace is an authentic brand. Investing in your brand right now has never been more important. When you think about how much money it costs to market an unremarkable brand, it's something you really should be thinking about. How do I make my brand remarkable, and how do I rent space in someone's head so when they think about service, they think about me first?
And the most successful home service businesses are doing this branding right. Even Tommy Mello credits a lot of this to Dan of Kickcharge, and so much so that he even invested in Kickcharge. So if you want to tap into that, we have a masterclass that Dan has just taught right now. We just finished recording it. Come check it out right now. When you see an incredible truck rolling down the street, the odds are it was designed by Kickcharge, Dan Antonelli's company. And he's done this for 2,000 home service businesses. And today, we're going to talk about the bland tax and what your number one ad asset, which is your vans, need to be doing. 3 rules that you need to be able to check to see if your vans are wrapped the right way. What is one thing that you can do in the first 30 days to be able to get ROI out of your branding? How can you tell if your website is in alignment with the rest of your branding? How do you know if you're doing something that's actually distinctive versus just decorative? And how do we know what the ROI of your branding is? There is no better brand person than Dan Antonelli. Dan, welcome to the Coach U Show.
Thanks, brother. It's good seeing you. Good to see you at another event. It's always amazing seeing the stuff that you're putting out and learning so much from you about all the things that you are so, you're like an expert. You're like the OG of SEO, digital, all that stuff, man. So it's an honor for me to talk to you today.
You know, I feel like I'm just a mirror of the reflection of people. So if you like what you see in the mirror, that's you, right? Look at, he's fully branded out. You might not be able to see, but he's got Kickcharge shoes on, his Kickcharge hat, his Kickcharge, all this kind of stuff. I've read his book in preparation to spend, he's like a bumblebee, right? Look at this. And then yesterday, he gave me version 2, and I don't know what the difference is in version 2. So my questions are all based on version 1.
Okay.
Right? But first off, how do you define a bland brand?
One that just blends in. So one that is unremarkable. And the more unremarkable your brand is, the more you will pay to market yourself. So the brands that don't live in someone's mind are the brands that cost way more to market. So more in paid advertising, more in weak conversion rates, weak booking rates.
Yeah.
All those KPIs all are affected the more unremarkable you are. So.
And I saw one hidden benefit is that with better branding, it's actually a recruitment tool.
Oh yeah,
Talk about
100%.
that.
I just talked to somebody today. We were doing an interview, and he was just talking about what the brand has done for culture and recruitment. So you hear so many contractors and business owners talk about how hard it is to find people who want to work for them.
Yeah.
And then you look at their brand, and I'm like, I don't want to work for you either. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like a place I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
So in addition to all the KPIs that affect your marketing, you also have your internal marketing and how the brand affects that. So when you look at recruitment costs and how hard it is to get the right A players, you have to look like an organization that has an A player type of brand, right? So people want to be a part of, want to rep your brand and be proud to wear the brand. And, you know, again, the weaker the brand, the higher those costs will be.
Well, I want to join the cool kids, right? And if I'm Tommy Mello with A1 Garage and I want to be part of that, which is also Dan who did the branding for that.
Yep.
That affects everything. That ties into your website, your copy, your marketing, your staff, your training, your reputation, your reviews, the whole thing. Like Dan was saying, I'm a digital marketing engineer, guru, data kind of guy, but the more important thing is the brand.
Yeah.
No amount of optimize. It's like if I'm Gordon Ramsay, I'm a cook, and you give me dog shit, I can't do anything with that.
Can't do anything,
right? You always got to start with that strategy. Now, Dan's been doing this for over 30 years, over 2,000 brands. He's got 70 employees in his New Jersey office and other places. And I see hit after hit. Like every day on Facebook, you're posting a new brand and it's just beautiful and it's creative. And I wonder, how do you scale something like that? Are you like a mad genius and somehow you find other mad geniuses? Because how do you do it over and over again and know it's going to work?
Well, first of all, it's hard. I will say that. It is really hard to always put something out and then the next day to say to yourself, we have to be better. We have to do something more innovative. So that has guided me over the last 30 years, that we live by the notion that nothing we do today is good enough for tomorrow. And that standard, if you keep living up to that standard, you can't help but get better every single time. So it is hard finding people that are at the level, what we would say, at a kick charge level.
Yeah.
So illustrators and brand designers and people at that caliber are very, very rare. That's the biggest obstacle we have to scaling, is finding more of those caliber of people. Super rare traits that would know not only how to build a brand that communicates to the target audience, but how will that brand live and breathe on a truck? How will it live on a website and a brochure, on a uniform? And what is the story behind that brand? So those people, there's a lot of people that are graphic designers. Most graphic designers are not brand designers. They're good at graphic design, not taking anything away from graphic design. I started out as a graphic designer too. So, but people that understand the brand as a central piece and then how it gets integrated on every single channel, those guys are very hard to find.
Yeah,
you know?
like the depth of the story instead of some superficial color and design and font.
Yeah, and just understanding how to take that client's business and represent it with visuals that tell the story of what they are and who they are and why a consumer should choose to do business with them.
Yeah.
You know, and beyond that, how do we rent space in their head? Because if I can rent space in their head and I can be in their head when they need service, instead of going on Google and typing in air conditioning repair near me, what if they knew your name already?
Yeah.
How much easier would it be as a digital marketer if all your clients' names were known to the people they serve?
But what if their name is ABC Plumbing?
That's a big problem. Naming is a huge issue for so many home service companies. The chapter on naming in that book is the largest chapter because it's the first thing that so many businesses get wrong day one. And then they spend a lifetime trying to solve the fundamental flaw in their branding, which is their name.
How do they know when they should change their name?
Initial-based names are the absolute worst things you could ever name your business. Last name-based brands, second worst things you could ever name your business. Names you can't pronounce, names you can't spell, names that are too long. So any of those hallmarks just represent hurdles to being more memorable and to communicate promise. So that's the problem also with last name-based brands, is how does it communicate promise? The only way you can communicate promise is through years and years and years of paid advertising to have people associate your brand name with something positive. But if your name already said something positive, then my expectation from day one is already at a certain level. I don't need to prove it yet. When I ring the doorbell, I'm still going to prove it, but if I only knew your company by your name, what would I think I was going to get if I hired you? And that people think also like all these, you know, crazy ideas about what branding really is. It's just, what do people think about your company? And how do I help narrate what they believe about your company? How do I tell that story to them? Because if I can control what she believes before she hires you, then I'm winning.
Yeah.
And I'm more likely to have that client choose them and make that sale because they ring the doorbell and they already have an expectation. That's where so many guys struggle with, and they're like, they don't stand out from anything. The consumer doesn't think there's any reason to even pay a premium.
Yeah.
So that's why average tickets are low, booking rates are low, conversion rates on the websites are low because they don't know who the hell they are.
Cost per click is higher. Everything is worse off. It stems from that.
Yeah. So like, even like you mentioned earlier about the trucks, how important the trucks are. Those trucks in those communities, what are they actually doing? What are they communicating?
Mobile billboards.
What does the homeowner think they would get if they hired you? That's the question you have to ask yourself. You see the truck. I'm Mrs. Jones. I'm 80% of the purchasing decisions for a homeowner are from a woman. So make sure your brand is communicating to them, right? Very important. But if she saw that truck and knew nothing else about your company, what does she think?
Yeah.
What does she feel?
But what about those trades guys that are macho and they're showing guys with muscles and whatnot, and how does that appeal to a woman?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you see a lot of guys that, if the owners are male, they think that they want to have something that represents them, their masculinity or something like that, so they have muscled mascots and things like that. The problem is, Mrs. Jones is already scared shitless about who's coming to her home.
Yeah.
Why do I want to make her more intimidated?
With rhinos and bulldogs and lions and scorpions.
So anything that we can do to make her feel that the people who will show up at her home will treat her with respect, will be cordial, will be honest, trustworthy, all those buzzwords.
Yeah.
And when you have aggressive branding that's very masculine in nature, it immediately puts her on the defense. So the psychology behind the branding is really important to consider as you're building a brand. What does it make her feel? And how does it connect to her emotionally? Like, we literally had a client that we did a branding for, is a company called Maston's Plumbing, and you could look it up there in Oklahoma. And he was wearing his branded shirt, and he had a woman come up to him in a store, and she's like, "Oh my God, you're the guy from Maston's. I was driving behind your van, and the image just made me think of a different time of my life when contractors were honest, that they were trustworthy, and I really connected with what your truck was telling me." You think that she's going on Google next time and typing in plumbing company near me? Or is she going to type in Maston's Plumbing?
Yeah.
Because it just connected to her.
The
it
sale
just
is
stuck
emotional.
in her mind. And she went out of her way in a store to tell him that.
Yeah. You're creating local celebrities everywhere.
Yeah. It's like, how is your brand doing that? Does it have that kind of reaction?
Yeah.
Does the clip art rooftop logo for your roofing company, is that connecting to people?
Yeah.
Is that what they're going to really remember?
Yeah.
So I would say this too. One thing that I tell people to do is go on Google, and if you're in the roofing trade, go on Google and type in roofing company logos. And you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff pop up. If your logo looks like one of those, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it, you're blanding.
Blanding.
So definitely think about that, and just think about, what if mine looked like it didn't belong here almost? Wouldn't that be more sticky to Mrs. Jones later on when she needs your service?
Yeah.
And would it connect to her in a much different way than a clip art rooftop logo with a hammer in it? Like, this all feels painfully obvious to me, but like, you know what I mean?
Well, you've been doing it for 30 years.
But that's the way you have to think about it. And most people don't think about it. And the other thing too is, you start your business, and I get it. You haven't invested in branding. You bootstrap your business. You do the best you can. And I think you asked a question earlier, like, well, what is the time to rebrand? How do I know when it's time to rebrand? Well, does the brand that you started X number of years ago represent what you've evolved into today? Does it look like the level of service and quality that you provide today, or does it look like what you did 10 years ago? Because what you did 10 years ago when you started this company is very different than what you do today. I would hope it is different. I would hope it's a lot better, and you've matured in your service offerings and your quality and your delivery of service. So that's what happens, is you sort of get complacent with that original brand, and you think, well, that got me here. Why should I change? Like, well, it got you here, which is great, but does it represent where I want to go? Why did Tommy Mello come to me to rebrand when he was at $30 million in revenue? Who rebrands at $30 million in revenue and says, oh my God, this is a great idea, let's rebrand?
That was my next question.
Yeah. So he knew that brand stopped representing the service that they were providing, and he also knew it could not take him to where he wanted to go. And that takes a lot of guts to say, wow, $30 million, it's not working.
Something that's already, why would you touch that?
You know, and he went all in on the rebrand, and I think they're at 300 million now, so he 10x'd after the rebrand, like 3 or 4 years after rebranding.
And he loved you so much, he invested in Kickcharge.
Exactly, that too. And, you know, there's a lot of people, even Aaron Gaynor from Eco Plumbers, he was $43 million in revenue, and again, knew that didn't represent what they had evolved into, and we rebranded him, and I think he's pushing north of $70 million a year and a half later. So, you know, I think that's the hard question to ask. Owners get wrapped up in their brand. They're very passionate about their brand because I call it in the book, I talk about the warm blanket syndrome, you know, and I get it. It got you here. It's meaningful to you, but is it more important for it to be meaningful to you, or more important to be meaningful to who you're selling to?
Yeah.
And those are the questions to ask.
Yeah, what Mrs. Smith cares about. Now, Tommy Mello has grown with his face on all these vans everywhere. People recognize his face on the billboards and all this, and of course, You have gone from more than just van wraps into everywhere that brand presence
Yep.
is, so it's consistent. But just hypothetically, what if Tommy Mello was fat and not handsome? Would you still be able to put his face in the van? Can anyone else just put their face there and, you know, and look like that? Or is that unique to Tommy Mello?
So, you know, Tommy Mello, and the decision to use him on his branding was based on the prior brand equity that he had already established. So that's a question where you say from the beginning, from day one, does it make sense to use or feature an owner? Is that something that will have longevity? Is that something we're going to base everything around? Or is there another way to do it that it's not so dependent on a single person? But at that point, Tommy's face was already on 50 or 60 vans. And so we thought there was too much equity in his likeness to just throw it away. So those are the decisions you have to think about, especially in a larger rebrand, and say how much brand equity is in the old brand, how much can we evolve into a newer brand, and does it make sense to scrap a lot of it or not as much? So sometimes the rebrand is more a revolution, or sorry, an evolution rather than a revolution, right? But even with Tommy's case, his original brand colors were black and red. And I said to myself, black and red are very masculine colors. They're not soothing. They don't feel premium. The red was heavily integrated on his trucks previously, so I said, I don't want to lose the red. We're going to keep the red, but I'm going to introduce dark brown and ivory to soften this, to make this more appealing to women, to feel more premium also. So the psychology behind color is also an important thing to think about as you choose colors. And also, we also knew in a lot of the markets at that point, no one else was using those three particular colors. So I wanted to maintain ownership of my brand colors in the market that we were going into.
That is so thoughtful. Beyond what most people think, I'll just go to Fiverr and get a logo done. And not pay 20 or 30 grand, you know, I'm going to save all this money.
You're going to save, so I always say the most expensive logo you'll ever buy is one you paid the least for. Because it's going to cost you in so many other things. And I think even as, you know, from even a digital marketing perspective, when you really analyze the data, and we have so much data now, and that's what the new book talks more about, is the data of branding pre-rebrand and post-rebrand. So what were our KPIs? What were our booking rates, our close rates, our average tickets, our customer acquisition cost, which is a huge piece of it, and you know, return on ad spend prior and after. And I think that's why I wanted to do the second edition of the book, because I accumulated so much data, just highlighting the differences. Even like we used a digital marketing company that had done 25 websites that used a KickCharge brand, and they had 25 websites that didn't use a KickCharge brand. So I said, run some numbers for me. Tell me what the average branded keyword searches are per month on a KickCharge brand versus the non-KickCharge brand. And it was 10x. So it was basically about 500 or 600 with a KickCharge brand. People typing in the name of the company versus 50 for the un-KickCharge brands. And then what happened when they came to the website? What were the conversion rates? And it was 12% with a KickCharge brand and 6% without a KickCharge brand. So it wasn't just, you know, comparing 25 to 25. So it wasn't a small sample set. But imagine, so what does that equate to leads? How many more leads a month are we talking about? That's about 50 leads a month. You know, and what was the cost for acquisition? And you know how much cheaper branded keyword acquisition costs are. Like that's what we want. So,
but it's also a better reputation. And there's a self-selection bias, because if they're choosing KickCharge, that's a signal that they care about branding and reputation. And they might be larger, because to be able to afford a KickCharge is different than, I mean, they have to be at a certain point to afford a KickCharge.
But I think that's what I loved as I dug deeper on the second edition, was just really looking at KPIs. Because we could talk all day about how pretty this brand is or how cool this truck wrap is. The most important metric is, well, how does it convert? What does it mean for our marketing spend? And I think even people talk about marketing spend, and I'm sure you've heard people say, oh, you need to be spending 10, 11, 12% if you want to grow, et cetera. And a lot of times when I hear people say that, especially if it's on Facebook, and they'll be in one of the home service groups, and then I'll go to the guy's website that's saying it, and then I'll look at his brand, and I'm like, that's why you're spending 12%, because your brand is unremarkable. Like a lot of our clients are living in the 5, 6, 7% and growing substantially, because they have a brand that's sticky, that's memorable, it's communicating promise, all those things. So it's pretty wild when you really dig into the numbers to see. So I think that that's the thing too, when people say, oh my God, branding is so expensive. And then it's the same people month after month paying Google on LSA and PPC and overspending on that stuff because no one knows they exist.
It's like running ads and you have your emergency brake on.
Yeah.
It's like your car has got the e-brake. You got to fix the e-brake issue instead of like flooring it harder.
Yeah.
Because the cost of ads, the cost of all that marketing is getting more expensive.
Yep.
And because of that, everyone else is getting priced out except for those that can afford to pay for the clicks because the conversion rate's high enough, the brand is strong enough, the reputation is already there.
Yeah. And I think too, digital marketing companies get a lot of hate from contractors, and some of it very well earned, as you totally know. You know, there's a lot of bad players in that space, which is sad to see. But there are some good players as well. But the anchor that they're working with and they're dragging is this poor brand, and the contractor is blaming them and saying, we need more leads, we need more quality, we need this, and it's like, you don't probably need more leads. You know, some of them have shitty booking rates, shitty close rates. There's jobs open that they haven't closed. Like, there's some of that stuff too. But sometimes it's just like, fix the brand, because that's killing us right now. No one knows you exist. And then if they go to your website and they've never heard of you, your conversion rate is going to suck. So that visibility in the community, the notion of being 5 Mile famous, the investment back into the community amplifies the effects of the digital. You know, so what am I doing to be visible in the community? How do I get my brand in front of Mrs. Jones? Do I sponsor little leagues? Do I go to the parades? Do I, go to home shows? Those grassroots efforts, they take time and they take effort. And sometimes the contract, I'm just going to spend more money on Google. I'm just going to throw more money at Google. Because it's easier almost to write the check to Google than to actually try to make inroads in your own community.
Just throw more money at it.
Yeah. But if everyone within 5 miles of your home base knew you existed, what would happen to your business? What would happen if everyone in 5 miles knew you existed?
It's as simple as that.
You know? Even what drives me crazy, this is maybe going slightly off tangent, but you know how many owners you go to their Facebook page and it says no workplaces to show?
Yeah.
What are you, insane?
Yeah.
You don't want the people in your community to know you're the owner of a home service business?
Well, they want to hide behind the brand. Hide behind the company instead of show their face.
Why don't you want?
Well, I don't want to be an influencer. I'm a private person. I'm not good on social media. I don't want to be on someone's podcast.
You know, it just blows my mind that you don't want as many people. How many friends do you have on Facebook that are looking for a plumber? And you're a plumber, and you don't want people to know that? Why? So you can post some political stuff? Like, make another account for that if that's really what you want to do. Yeah. But like, let as many people know as possible what you do for a living. I always fail to see the downside of it.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, that's just an aside.
I think that's valuable. Just, the owner has to represent, right? If KFC or if the Colonel didn't eat chicken, then what's the,
It's all trust.
Yeah.
It's all trust. So you're building trust by saying, I'm going to stand behind my own brand.
Yeah, you've got to represent.
I'm proud to represent my brand. I'm not going to hide and say no workplaces. Why would I do that?
And everyone in the company is going to follow the leader. Look at you, right?
Yeah.
If you didn't represent Kickcharge, people would say, like, who is this guy? He's a hypocrite.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense. So,
and now he's got a full knowledge panel on Google. If you Google Dan Antonelli,
Dennis hooked me up, man. I have a full knowledge panel, and I feel like I'm legit now.
Can I tell you something that I think I can only say to you and maybe a few other people on the planet?
Okay.
So I've been doing this engineering, technical, search engine building website thing for over 35 years, okay? And it's always been, every couple of years, there's like the latest new thing. Oh, there's ChatGPT, it's gonna revolutionize the world. Oh, there's this new thing with Google with AI answers, and there's the, TikTok, and then every couple of years, there's a new thing, and everyone complains about it. You gotta, chase the latest thing. Yet, what I've seen across plumbers and real estate, anyone who's a local service business, a dentist, is increasingly, even though there's more technology every year, oh no, AI is going to kill everyone because the robots are now going to, whatever it is, increasingly, even with more technology, brand has become more important.
Exactly.
Because with all this AI, like we just saw Kevin O'Leary speak, and he showed the AI Kevin, and he showed the real Kevin, and it's getting closer.
Yeah.
But with all this stuff that's fake, there's nothing better than actually being in the community, meeting people face to face like we're meeting.
Yeah.
Actually showing what you do, actually showing the techs out there on the roof, actually showing who you are. the irony is that the more tech there is, the more people kind of lash back and revert back to
Authenticity.
that brand.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
You cannot AI your way out of authenticity.
Yeah. You have a crap brand, you have a bad reputation, you can't AI your way out of that.
Yeah. So I think you're spot on with that. There's so much talk about AI and how critical, and I understand the role it will play, a bigger role, but brand is something that AI will never replace, and there's no substitute for it.
Yeah.
You know, and that authenticity, the people want that. They want to know who they're doing business with. You're letting somebody in your home. It's a big deal to let somebody in your home.
Yeah.
You know, a stranger.
Yeah.
But what if they weren't really a stranger? Because I sort of know who these people are and this company is. And I see them at the soccer game. I see them at the community events. They were at the Halloween parade. They were throwing out candy to everybody down the street.
And other friends of mine are also customers of so-and-so.
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, it's an interesting time because, yeah, so much about AI and how it will revolutionize a lot of stuff. I 100% agree with that, but it will never replace a truly authentic brand.
I was the MC at an AI conference, and I got to meet with all the other speakers that were talking about AI this and AI that. And you know, when you're in the back with the other speakers and you have your little like private discussions, you know what they said? They said the people who are getting ahead in AI are actually the most personable, most authentic, human, storytelling, relatable. And these are technician people who are, you know, building these crazy AI tools, and they're saying it's not the tech, it's the brand. So increasingly, like people might come to me for some kind of AI technical data optimization, and I'm saying like, you know what, the AI calculators and whatever know more than I do about my own stuff. I can't beat the thing at chess because it's now gotten smarter. The most important thing is going back to the story, going back to what you represent, going back to your connections in the community, going back to things that the AI can't create.
100%. Absolutely.
So you've done this for 30 some years.
30 years,
you've,
yeah.
You've,
a little
you know,
more, yeah, but
people have asked you, you know, the same kinds of questions over and over again. But Dan, what's one question you wish people would ask you?
Oh man, that's always a hard one. I think more people. I wish more people would ask why. Like why do you do this? Why did you start doing this? Mm-hmm. What was it about it that you were passionate about? And you know, it's become even more clear over the years the impact of our work, and you start thinking as you get older, you start thinking about legacy, and you start thinking about how many more lives can I change with our work. And I love the fact that we get to build brands that change people's lives and the ripple effect that it has, how many jobs get created, how much more wealth is built for people, how they can, you know, take vacations finally with their family because the business is running so much better, like all those things. And I think that pursuit of also just making sure that we're never complacent in what we do and recognizing that the responsibility that we're given, that we're blessed to be given, is a sacred one. And that's just, I think that's guided me for 30 years, and knock on wood, it's worked out very well. And I think, I wish that more people that were in the space, even whether it's digital marketing, whether it's branding, whether it's graphic design, I wish that they respected more of the responsibility that they have to the business owners that they've been entrusted. You're like, they're trusting you with your livelihood.
Yeah.
And I wish that more people accepted that responsibility, embraced that responsibility, and then did everything in their power to make sure that what they were delivering was going to accomplish that mission.
That's a huge level of trust. And then to think about that legacy that you're leaving when you're no longer on this planet. So let's say we fast forward into the future and you've lived a great life, you've fulfilled your dreams, and today was your last day on Earth. What would people say about you? Dan Antonelli was...
I would hope that they would say he was pioneering in the notion of how critical brands were for home service businesses or the trades, and left this impact. You know, at this point, it's actually over 3,000 home service brands that we've done, and that's, you know, you think about impact and you think about how many vehicles have our brands, how many people have been touched by our brands. And
You're the celebrity.
It's pretty
Everyone
remarkable.
wants to save up enough money to be able to. They all want to hire KickCharge. I don't even see like the number 2.
Yeah. So it is pretty remarkable, and I think I would just be really proud to know that we helped shape the lives of a lot of people in that process. That would make me really happy, and for people to remember that we did that means a lot for sure. You know, and I'm not done yet. I've got some work still to do.
You're still young.
And I still love what we do, and I think that part will never change. I mean, I hand painted and hand lettered my first truck when I was 15 years old. So I'm 55 now, so that's 40 years.
Wow.
40 years I did my first van for a home service contractor.
Amazing.
It was a plumber, and to think that 40 years later I'm still passionate about what I'm doing. So as you know,
You ever see that Netflix Jiro Dreams of Sushi?
I have not.
It's a guy where his whole life is dedicated towards being better and better at sushi.
Okay.
And he's even like 75 or 80, and every day he does this. He never takes a sick day. And his son is like 60 and wants to take over the business, but the father won't die because he's so passionate about sushi. It's like a 3-year waiting list. President Obama or whoever, everyone wants to go there. You're like the Jiro, but of branding for home services.
Okay. I got to check that one out. But yeah, that feels a little bit like me, and I think it's been a pursuit of just, again, never being complacent. And I think that's not just a good lesson for me, but any business owner. I think the minute you stop pursuing the next level, the minute that you say what you're doing is good enough, that's the minute you start declining.
Yeah, you're
because
done.
there is no good enough. Good enough is never good enough. And if you live with that mindset and you just always are trying to improve, you can't help but improve a lot of people along the way with that mindset. So
Incredible. And I love your new book. I read this one, and now I've got to see what the delta is and not ask ChatGPT what's the difference. But Dan, why should people get your new book?
So the new book really talks a lot more about the data behind rebranding and what the true effects are on multiple KPIs across the spectrum. So I published the first one 3 years ago. Almost immediately after you do anything of that nature, you start thinking, oh, I should have said this, I could have included that.
Yeah.
So I started keeping a journal of all these case studies, all these data points, and I literally had just on my phone the Notes app, and I would just add stuff on a daily basis. And I collected all this new data.
Yeah.
I dug into some data even from, you've heard of Searchlight and what Searchlight does. I got some metrics from them.
Yeah.
And I thought the first book does a great job talking about the power of a brand and what a brand should mean and how to embrace it, things like that, and just the notion of disruption for branding. But I didn't have nearly as much data behind. You could say it was more theory-based, even though there's still a lot of case studies in the first one. But now I just feel like there's a lot more. And then we also we talk about AI. So we talk about the use of AI in branding, why that's not a good idea, just the pitfalls, the potential pitfalls with that. And then we talk about brand story. So brand story was covered briefly in the first, but now we have an entire chapter on brand story. And I think that part is important too, because as you mentioned earlier, just the idea of being authentic. So what is beyond the cool visuals, what is the story that we tell, that we craft about who we are, and how do we use that story to have people develop a connection to us? So I dug a lot deeper into that in the second edition too. So yeah, I was excited more so because, again, I love designing beautiful things and pretty brands, but I also love the metrics and the data behind the results.
I love it.
Because that's what turns me on. When the guys tell me, hey, I increased my booking rate by 10% and my average tickets went up by 25%, like, that's exciting to me because they changed nothing operationally, but the perception of what they provided changed to the consumer that they were selling to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, because I think that's the other thing too, is so many companies provide a great service, they just don't look like they provide a great service.
Yeah.
What would happen if your business looked as good as what you actually provided?
Yeah.
And bridging that divide is when you see crazy shit happen.
And then you're kind of ambidextrous because you understand the creative side, but also the data and the measurement of it. Most people can't do one or the other. You're left and right-handed.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, no, I'm excited for it. I'm already now I'm thinking of new stuff
What would be in the third edition of your book?
Oh my God. I think it would just be probably even a little bit more data driven, have more metrics to measure. I'm more fascinated with things like doing A/B stuff between rebrands. I recently had somebody post the results of a PPC campaign that was before the rebrand and after, and showing the results there. So I think there's some cool stuff with that also. Because
why don't you just create a brand measurement tool? Just take it to the next step. Build the AI. If you implement these things, your tool then just goes, and it's the next logical step to measure that, right? Now they can see it's not a concept on, the 40 mile per hour rule, or one van, one message, you know what? Like, they can actually see it and actually take the last mile step.
Because I need smart guys like you to figure out how to do that, because I don't know how to do that.
I'm just a mirror of, I'm just reflecting you back to yourself.
Okay.
Well, Dan, it's been amazing to have you on the Coach U Show.
Thank you, man.
Real honor.
Yeah, no, I remember when you first got on stage at one of Tommy's events here in Phoenix for a Garage Door Freedom event, and that was like probably 5 or 6 years ago. It was right after I rebranded Tommy, and you were talking about social media stuff, and I was just like, oh my God, who is this guy, man? Because like you were talking about stuff that was so far advanced at that point, and it's just amazing seeing the stuff that you're building and the stuff that you advocate for, and I love what you do just to try to make sure people understand the value of what they're buying and shine lights on where it's not being done the right way. So I appreciate that about what
My
you
whole
do
life
too.
mission is shining light on the people that are doing the good things. People like you. There's a ton of amazing young adults in home services that are going through our digital training and helping those home service businesses, helping their dad who's a plumber, right? Get this, because you know, the stereotype of the parent who doesn't understand how to use the iPad and the young kid understands technology. I just love seeing that. I love honoring people like you